He tells his father to wait, asking with a smile if there was anything stronger than an orc. This shocks the crowd. He thinks that it would be better to show off his power to a certain degree, hoping that his progress will allow him to be separated from Hugo. Hugo agrees with Vikir and asks for a creature that they captured from the barbarian raid to be released. The beast was starving since then. The crowd is shocked once again. But Vikir looks happy. A troll was his new opponent. It growls at him. Vikir asks Hugo if he could start right away. Hugo says he may. He rushes to the troll. The troll attacks Vikir with a mighty punch. He dodges and is annoyed, and decides to back away from the troll. The crowd is confused by his actions as it was the perfect moment to attack. Hugo agrees with his actions and that it was the right move due to the troll's Regan powers. Vikir continues to dodge its attacks. The troll begins to breath heavy. The crowd calls Vikir a genius at 8 years old and that his plan was to tire the troll out first. Vikir thinks that it's too slow and that he needed to act but is unable to unleash his full power as it would make it troublesome for him. Instead, he decides to use the troll's power against itself as he slices its arm. The troll falls to the ground, holding its bleeding shoulder. The crowd praises Vikir for what he has done. Vikir thinks that the first technique was not enough to slice the troll's thick skin. Hugo asks him to stop as it could become dangerous, but Vikir tells him he was almost done. He realized that he was getting an epiphany and that he'll give up if he can't kill it in the next attack. The troll growls in anger. He releases his red aura, preparing for an attack. The troll yells at him as he stood still. But it realizes something from him. A deadly aura and image was seen as from Vikir. In the next moment, the troll was sliced in half by Vikir as he unleashed the Hound's aura. Everyone is stunned at what happened. Even Vikir was shocked at what he just did. He laughs saying he did it. Hugo and everyone in the arena could not believe what they just saw. A week later in the dining room, Vikir is upset over the food. He turns to look around, realizing that everyone has been avoiding him since the day of the arena battle. But he was happy to see Hugo's stunned face, and that he had only shown a small part of his power to them but was actually more powerful. He had also gained the super speed regeneration skill from the troll. He thinks about the fact that he has been eating more with Beelzebub as the triplets appeared behind him. He readies himself. Vikir asks the triplets if last time was not enough, but them claim it was not what he was thinking. They wanted to tell him he was cool when he defeated the monsters, causing Vikir to spit out his food. The triplets ask if he was okay as Vikir thinks it was some sort of scheme. Just as he was feeling goosebumps at what they said, Butler Barrymore appears, telling him he needs to go to the Patriarch room. Back at the mansion of the Baskerville family, Hugo is seen chatting with the Morgue clan patriarch, Adolf Morgue. They talk about the annual training event between the families, hoping no accidents would happen. Hugo tells Adolf that it was just a scratch and that the Morgue's children were dramatic. Adolf said it was because they were noble and dignified. The Rion Mage clan, the Morgues, and the Iron-Blooded Sword clan, the Baskervilles. They were not always on bad terms. The Emperor said that magic and swords were a pair. Because of those words, the two families would have annual joint trainings as a sign of good faith between them. However, a ruby mine between the two families' land was discovered, causing a problem of who owns it. Adolf asks if there was a supernova in the Baskerville family that was born with great blessings and skill, and Hugo brushes it off saying it's not a big deal. Adolf is surprised to see Hugo reacting to a compilment of a child. He then tells him that the Morgue family also had a genius. He calls for Camus to come in. The doors open and a little girl walks in. Hugo looks at her. Adolf introduces her as his sister's Respinese daughter, Camus. He tells her to greet Hugo, but she remains silent. Instead of greeting, she calls him a thief that stole the ruby mine and that he should give it back. Hugo was angry to hear the word thief. Adolf is surprised at her words, and she told him that it was what he said in the carriage and that the annoying Chin Beard stole the ruby mine. The words annoying Chin Beard further annoys Hugo. Adolphe says it was a misunderstanding and Hugo agrees, saying she was just a child. But Camus shouts at Hugo to give back the rubies as she doesn't have enough to do research. Enough! Hugo says as he holds back his anger. Adolphe holds Camus tightly, asking what Hugo plans to do to the child, as Hugo states that the Morgues didn't teach manners at all. Adolphe asks if he was threatening an 8-year-old girl. I guess the Morgues didn't teach their children to not envy what is others. Said by Vikir as he enters the room. Adolphe wonders if Vikir was the supernova and realizes that Camus was missing. Camus appears in front of Vikir asking what he just said. Vikir hears her name and recalls her as the Morgue's clan iron-blooded empress, Camus Morgue. She was known as the genius among the genius even in the Morgue clan that raised countless mages. At her peak she killed all monsters and barbarians in the Lenoir mountain by herself, burning them to death on spears, creating her legend. Vikir also remembered that her beauty was captivating. Camus yells at him, saying that the ruby mines were hers and not his. You sure came a long way just to throw a tantrum, Vikir replies. The leaders notice something. Flames erupt from Camus due to the word tantrum. She tells him that he'll explain why the ruby mines belong to her so that a stupid dog could understand. Vikir simply smiles, saying that would be fun. A replica of ice is made. Everyone in the room was surprised by this. Camus says she'll explain it. Vikir was upset as he expected them to fight. She explains that the ruby mine was located in the area between the Morgue and Baskerville called Joint Security Area, and that the problem was that the entrance was located in the Morgue area but the mine runs underneath the Baskerville area. Adolphe was happy while Hugo became upset due to the explanation. Vikir adds on saying that the Baskerville doesn't need to mine the rubies as they were meant for magic ingredients. But he calls her an idiot as no one would allow someone to enter their lands based on a few pennies. Hearing this made Camus angry. She points to the sculpture, pointing to which side belongs to each family. She moves her arm across both areas, asking whose arm is this then? Vikir repeats her question back to her and grabs her arm. Mine, of course, Vikir says, making Camus blush. She stutters, wondering why she was his. Vikir tells her who said you're mine, much to her surprise. He grabs the knife, shocking Adolphe and Barrymore. He smiles while showing the knife, saying that only her arm belongs to him. Both Hugo and Camus are shocked at what he said. Vikir holds her arm high, ready to cut it with the knife. Camus tears up and screams for her uncle to help. Adolphe appears behind Vikir in an angry state, telling him to get away from his niece now. He lets go of her arm, allowing her to run to her uncle and hug him. Adolphe yells at Hugo, saying what the hell is this matter? Hugo remains silent and turns to Vikir. He tells him that he has gone too far with his joke. Vikir apologizes, saying it was a common joke in the family and that the knife was fake. Adolphe was shocked to see that toy knives were given to children as Vikir bows down to him, saying he was sorry. Hugo tells Adolphe that he was getting too involved in the children's play and that he had some ideas regarding to the ruby mines that he should hear. He tells them that they should compete in friendly duels first, as Camus tells Vikir that he better watch out and she won't forget this. Vikir simply smiles and nods. The friendly duels between the Baskervilles and Morgues had begun. It was an occasion where children ages 8 to 15 gather and battle it out. However, everyone's attention was headed somewhere else this year. It was the Morgue's clan Camus Morgue against the Baskerville clan Vikir van Baskerville. Using practical training rules was to showcase the duel between the two geniuses of the clans. The bells rings announcing the start of the duel. Camus tells him she won't hold back and begins to cast a spell. Everyone was stunned at this. She was doing quadra-casting. Adolphe smiles at Hugo as the crowd were amazed that Camus was doing something that was difficult for a 15-year-old. Camus unleashes her attacks, but Vikir dodges them with ease. He tells her she should focus on one spell, but she calls him an idiot who doesn't understand magic. She summons a stone wall just as Vikir reaches her. He simply smashes through the wall. Camus was shocked to see this, wondering if this was the power of the Baskerville basked in the river Styx. She closes her eyes and opens them again, and sees Vikir with his hand out. He flicks her straight in the head, sending her flying. Adolf was surprised to see a flick while Hugo chuckles. Camus asks him why he flicked her and wonders if he was going easy on her. He points to his forehead saying hers might hurt, and that they should end things before it gets out of hand, but she ignores him and summons 2 stone walls. She laughs at him behind the 2 walls as Vikir wonders if he should just go around it. He decides to play along and smashes through the wall with just his bare hands. Camus is startled to see his hand come from the wall. Vikir now asks her whose arm it was that crossed the wall, and tells her as he flicks her forehead, the stronger individual. He smiles as Camus falls down again from the flick. With a huge red bump on her forehead, Camus holds it and growls at him. She yells at him saying she'll kill him as Vikir dodges the fire spell and wonders that dealing with children is much harder. He continues to dodge her attacks, wondering what he should do to calm her down. Vikir looks behind, wondering if he should let others handle the problem. Another duel was happening right behind them. It was a pair of idiots that keeps casting fire magic and a swordsman that slices magic. He believes that they might be useful as Camus shouts out why he wasn't getting hit. She walks to him asking him not to turn away and to face her. The idiot mage behind begins chanting a magic spell, giving Vikir the perfect moment. He calls out to Camus, telling her that she better have a defensive spell ready as a huge fireball appears behind him. Camus couldn't believe what was in front of her. Adolf shouts no, as a huge explosion is seen.